We have a listener. Now, if I know anything about people like you, and trust me, I have a fairly good understanding, you do not know much about life among monsters and under gods. Never fear, dear listener, for I can be your guide through this tumultuous journey into our troublesome world. That is, if you're bold enough to accompany me. You see, if you truly want to know the fates of our beloved heroes, you must brave the murkiest of waters, the darkest of forests, and the sweetest of shops. Does that worry you? It probably should, but if you're still listening, welcome to Roanoke.
I never should have trusted you to lead the way. I don't recognize any of this. I'm not surprised you don't know the way around your own school.
The school's a big donut, Sprinkles. I'm not surprised you get turned around in it. Look, we're in the lobby.
What were you saying about getting turned around again?
What was that about not recognizing anything?
The duo stood on the edge of the lobby. Just not the lobby either of them had entered through earlier. The picture frame still hung from the walls, but the faces staring back were not the same. Where the trophy case once collected dust in its many bare patches, shining awards crowded the shelves. Benches were pushed up to different corners, and while the framework of the lobby was just as it was, nothing was the same either.
They fixed the carpet at least.
What the hell?
Listen, I just got here, so you want to fill me in?
All I know is that the carpets have been the worst shade of green I've ever seen in my whole life, and now they did an emergency remodel? I don't think so.
Okay, so this is weird. We can focus on whatever this is once we tackle the other mystery first. What happened to the theater troupe?
I say we just ditch. You saw the stage. We'll just get stuck with cleanup if we stay.
People just disappeared. A whole new production appeared on the stage. Aren't you the least bit curious about any of this? A little concerned about where everyone went?
No, good riddance. I'm taking back a few hours of my life. Have fun with cleanup or standing in the sheriff's line or whatever just sitting here is going to get you. I'm out.
Pulling his leather jacket against himself, Bentley strides across the room. Edith watches, chewing on her lip, lost in thought. Bentley makes a grab for the door, making to wrench it open and create a tremendous slam.
What? Oh, come on.
Edith begins to move across the room, squinting through the glass door, mostly ignoring the brewing tantrum beside her. Bentley slides over to the other door next to it in the lobby, yanking on the door with both hands now. It still doesn't yield.
What the hell? They locked us in.
It would seem the petulant boy is correct. Stopped clocks and all that. It's true. They are locked in a school. Whoever that elusive they Bentley mentioned is, however, remains unclear, especially as Edith squints her eyes and peers outside.
Fog sure moved in fast.
Are you even listening, Sprinkles? What are we going to do now?
Edith is, in fact, not listening. Not fully. She's taking in the school again, drifting over to the wall of framed photographs she perused earlier in the night. Her brow is furrowed as she examines each picture in her line of sight.
Hey, if you're that fascinated by this snooze fest, you want to help me raid the sports equipment closet? I bet we could get some bats, finally give this place the smashing remodel it deserves. Are you...
Bentley, have you noticed that none of these pictures have the right people in them?
What?
You live here, take a look at them. Earlier today, I looked at this exact wall, and no one who is on that wall is on this one. I can't recognize a single person here.
Neither can I.
But that's Main Street, see? around the things that look like bubbly automobiles and the parade. And in this one, that's the sea. The sweet shop is in that one, up in the corner, but that's not the owner.
Yeah, and Mayor Dally is nowhere to be seen either. None of the founders are in these pictures.
But they are, Bentley, look.
Edith, who has been pointing erratically at the pictures, going on tiptoes for the top rows, now crouches at a line of frames near the bottom. Instead of Technicolor or grayscale photographs, solemn portraits look back from their cages.
Nuh-uh, school's way too boring for me, but even I know who the founders are. These ain't it.
They may not be your founders, but they could be...
Before Edith could get out that next illuminating thought, the pictures in front of her blink. Not the figures in the frames, but the pictures themselves, distorting, the color fading out and replaced with a thin gray mist. Edith and Bentley leap back, Bentley making fists and Edith's eyes blown wide. The pictures do not depart entirely, instead staying in a type of incorporeal purgatory. Edith has never seen anything like it, and it pulls at her mind, the impossibility of it all. Even Bentley looks thoroughly put out. Every prior thought Edith had has just flown from her head. A crying shame, really. I'm sure she was about to say something rather interesting just then. The two send the other a glance, Edith looking up at Bentley, mouth a hard line, Bentley sending a hand through his unruly hair.
We have to get out of here. Do you know where the janitor closets are? They probably have a key to the door.
Why the hassle, Sprinkles? Let's just go with my original plan.
Yes, because that was a real winner.
All I'm saying, bat, glass door, freedom.
Bentley, as sure as you are that your innovation is helpful, we have no idea what's going on, inside or out. Not only has an entire group of people disappeared in thin air, the school has had a split-second remodel, the pictures have become ghosts, and the fog out there is so thick we can't see a thing. We need to be smart about this.
It's essentially the same plan. Mine's just better.
Keep telling yourself that.
I think I having a bat in this situation would be pretty smart.
If we go about this rationally, we can maybe find someone and figure out what's going on. It's probably hallowed ground, or a moon pattern.
Moon patterns got debunked years ago, Sprinkles. Haunting, though the school hasn't had one in months. Edith, do you hear that?
Compromise, you look for that bat, I'll check for a key.
Deal.
What was that about a haunting?
Hey, I didn't say it wasn't. Left.
Edith stumbles into the turn, slamming her shoulder into a door. Throwing it open, she blindly enters, Bentley on her heels. She shuts the door and searches along the wall, pulling a string. The space flickers into light. It's a narrow closet, assorted supplies scattered around. Faded blue mats are shoved against the walls, muffling the harsh breaths the kids are heaving. The two lean against the walls. Edith tips her head back, hair pooling around her neck, lost in thought. Bentley keeps looking down the hall.
This is not what I imagined when I agreed to this.
We gotta renegotiate our contract.
If you let your ears squint a little, it may have appeared that they were getting along. They seemed to realize that as well, and the brief flicker of goodwill between them was extinguished.
So, we're in a closet. Lovely.
Not just any closet, Sprinkles. All the sports equipment is stored in here.
Oh, great. A closet for jocks. You can't still be looking for a bat. What is that going to do against a ghost, Bentley?
We don't know if it's a ghost.
That is not the part of that sentence to nitpick.
Hey, compromise, remember? You look for your key, I look for my bat. I've been in plenty of situations like this. Let me deal with this my way.
The two give each other a look, exasperation mirrored on both of their faces. Then, remembering what they just left in the hallway, some of that fear returns, even if they're too stubborn to show it. After a moment of what seems suspiciously to be hesitation, Bentley pushes off the wall.
Well, let's just get on with it. I've had more than my fill of this dumpster fire for a life.
Bentley leads the way down the narrow hall, the light flickering overhead. His stride is bored, but Edith can't seem to help glancing around, even if the light is too frustratingly poor to make out any fine details.
What's your deal anyway?
What?
You clearly hold this place in the highest of regards.
You're funny.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Annoying, too.
And here I thought we were making progress.
Bentley suddenly turns on a heel, blocking the cramped space as he meets Edith's eyes. And it could just be the light, or the angle, or the events of the night catching up. But something in his facade has finally slipped.
There's no progress to make here. This isn't the start of anything. We're locked in my least favorite part of town, and for once I can enjoy it. Because everyone who made it so bad is gone right now.
For his part, he doesn't overreact when he realizes the truth in his outburst. It's there, sure, in the slight widening of his eyes, a twitch in his fingers, as if he could rip the words out of the air. Instead, he just stares daggers into Edith. For her part, she just looks at him, and she can't see through him all the way. Not yet, but she sees something in him still.
I wasn't treated very well back home either.
Come on. Door's just up ahead.
They don't speak again as Edith follows him down the flickering hallway. The two have finally come to the actual sports closet. If there had been a map of the school present, it would have highlighted how their journey took them to the opposite side of campus. The hallway has opened to a proper closet space, with bins of balls and rackets crowding the space.
Well, if you're looking for a key to the doors, this is the best place to do it.
Edith just nods, following his gesture to a wall of keys. The two go their separate ways, Edith fingering through the messily labeled keys, and Bentley rifling through blunt sports objects. The silence between them is thick, the only sound the occasional clicking of the lights in their sputtering rhythm.
So, what did you mean earlier about eating in the auditorium?
Why? Looking to gloat?
She turns to face him, and he quickly glances away, going back to swinging a tennis racket like a sword. He has terrible form. Grimacing at it, he puts it back, opting to root around for something else. Head ducked.
No need to take my head off. Just curious.
Please, the day you're genuinely curious about something is the day disaster strikes. Well, actually, I guess today might be that day.
As if. This is pretty tame, compared to some of the things I've seen here.
Really?
Sure. You didn't strike me as the type of dodged questions.
Walk and talk. There's no key for the doors here.
Bentley emerges from the depths of the closet with a gleaming steel bat resting on his shoulder, a sharp grin cutting his face.
And keep that bat away from me, or else you're banned from the sweet shop for life. As for your question, I meant it exactly as I said it. I ate in the auditorium a lot.
And why'd you do that?
I didn't want to admit I had no one else to sit with, so I just disappeared. So, yeah, the auditorium was the next best choice because... Bentley, what is wrong with your gym?
The two have stepped into the dimly lit gym, but the lighting is not the problem. Most of it is the run-down John Lawson Gymnasium of Roanoke High School, with its fading green and orange banners and fold-up bleachers. Shadows creep up the walls in the corners, the lights above only illuminating squares of the beaten-up basketball court. The small part of it that is not the John Lawson Gymnasium of Roanoke High School should probably not exist, at least not relative to the space it inhabits and the rest of the room. Just left of center court, a sliver of a gymnasium can be seen, but which gymnasium it is remains unknown. The scratched floor suddenly melts into one that is smooth and shining. The far wall loses its hideous color scheme and becomes one of a cool blue and black, a bruise against the rest of the room.
Huh. This is new. Wait, why are you going towards it?
Edith has started creeping towards the spot in the gym, squinting. Suddenly she stops and shuffles just to the side. From this angle, the other gym is gone. She moves back. Other gym is back.
What a headache.
Okay, that's it. I'm officially done with this.
I hope this is the last time I find myself agreeing with you tonight.
Yet, the two hesitate, both sending looks back at the spot before them. They eventually leave the gymnasium, the buzzer becoming fainter and fainter behind them until the door is shut. Once they're gone, the spot begins to crumble in on itself, little by little, until it's entirely smoothed over. The sound of the otherworldly buzzer, gone.
I'm not sure if I should find it funny that all of these trophies have the name Rory Lewis on them or not.
Well, they're doing a whole lot better than the rest of us. We hardly have any trophies.
Sport not your game.
My talents lay in other areas.
Talents! And sure they do.
Edith and Bentley are headed back through the hallways. So far, nothing is singing or following them, but there are stretches of the hall that are impossible. The two are finally deposited in the same lobby they started the stroll in. For Edith, it is maddeningly the one she first walked in through, whatever that means anymore.
Okay, Sprinkles. Let's do this.
Bentley looks fully in his element. He strides past Edith, hefting the baseball bat in his hands, choking up on his grip, a devil-may-care grin on his face.
Wait, Bentley, we should test the door first, or... Whoa!
The room seems to ripple around them as they get closer to the doors. The orange pops into blue, and the details of the room distorting, bleeding together, becoming not just one school or the other, but a mess of something different, incomprehensible.
Oh, to hell with it! Break it down!
Bentley brings the bat back as the room around them shifts one more time. He brings the bat down, and...
Bentley!
Bentley's swing goes wide, slamming into the metal frame of the door instead of the glass as he intended. Mrs. Gilbert has stomped into the lobby. She attempts to understand the scene before her, but she gives up and gives into her rage instead.
Where have you two been? We have spent the better part of an hour scouring the school for you two, and I find you trying to vandalize it? What is going through your heads? First the rigging collapses on us, and now this? Bentley, get over here right this instant.
Edith and Bentley share a look. The moment feels unreal in its normalcy. After the harrowing hour they had of maybe ghosts, maybe schools, and maybe something more, this is definitely not how this should appear to be ending. Then Bentley's usual snarl returns to his face, and he trudges over to Mrs. Gilbert.
And as for you, Edith, I trusted Linda, but I never should have let someone new into this. I think you've done quite enough for one night.
She makes a shooing motion with her hand, and turns effortlessly on one stiletto. Conversation ended.
Wait, what? No, that can't be it. We still don't know what happened with...
Look, Edith, you're new here. Not everything can be like your walled city. Weird things happen in Roanoke. We can't always explain them, and it might be better that way. If you can just keep your head down and just accept that, you can probably find your way here just fine.
And if I can't?
Bentley stalks away, leaving Edith alone in the lobby. She casts another look around the school before testing the door. It swings open easily. She doesn't hesitate before leaving, heading into the night. The fog she observed earlier is conspicuously absent. Her head is still spinning through the events of that night, and the only conclusion she keeps coming to is that something has to be going on. I would be eager to agree with her, but even I hadn't seen anything like that yet. This was an interesting night for both of us. Edith crosses into the parking lot and unchains her bike. With more force than necessary, she kicks off from the ground and pedals into the night.
Ignore it? How am I just supposed to ignore what is happening? No, I think this summer just got interesting, darn it. And what? Ugh.
Edith finds herself back at the strange house. She couldn't explain how she got back here again. She had just ridden, and now here she is.
I am going to figure out what just happened. I'm going to figure out what is happening in this town, even if I have to do it alone.
The night breeze takes her declaration, but not the determination of her features. She peels her bike off of the curb and turns around, headed back down the road. This is how Edith Raleigh's summer in the town of Roanoke truly starts. The ground beneath her feet, suddenly uncertain, as strange and capable of lies as any other person in this town. Is the darkening world she rides through the truth, or a fiction? It seems too hard to say in this moment, but there is one thing she got wrong just now. She definitely won't be doing it alone. I, for one, am quite interested in seeing how this all shakes out. Aren't you?